Well, a really sloppy performance on Sunday costs the Tigers a home series against the Reds. We have some injury updates and roster moves as well. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, June 16th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hope you all had a fantastic Father's Day on Sunday and a fantastic weekend as a whole. The Detroit Tigers dropped a weekend set to I almost said Baltimore Orioles for some reason. I guess we did play them relatively recently, but I don't know why that was my initial reaction. To the Cincinnati Reds, rather. I was at the game with my father on Sunday. Great Father's Day game to day game to catch. Terrible, really defensive effort, certainly on the field. I am sunburnt to a crisp. I'm actually in so much pain. If I showed you my arms, they're just covered in aloe. Like it's really ugly over here. And I think the Tigers took a page out of that book, but Father's Day with the old man, nothing like it, nothing beats it. And bad day there. Still a great day, period, especially with Dad. So I mean, look, this weekend series, talking about the actual baseball, Friday was great. They win 11-5, and then they lose the next two 11-1 and 8-4. That 8-4 on Sunday being, again, they were kind of in the driver's seat late and completely blew it. So really my first thought is they got to keep games closer than they have been in the month of June. And when you look at the wins, there's plenty of close wins, and they're able to go, Canely invest in the 8th and 9th. And Herder's been great. Chase Lee's been great. Like, there's a lot of still notable difference makers, I guess we'll say, in the bullpen that have been doing a fantastic job still. But when this team is losing, or it's a 2-run game late, or it's a 3-run game late, or whatever, lately it has really gotten out of hand really quickly. And in the first month and a half, month-ish of the season, we talked so much about how impressive it was that the Tigers weren't getting blown out ever. Like, every game they played was somewhat competitive and could have gone either way there down the stretch of each individual ball game. And so for that to kind of take a 180 and be like, not that every game is a blowout, because again, their wins have been still relatively, not Fridays, but like relatively close lately. And it's just when they get behind, and you can't, some people get mad and they're like, why are you putting so-and-so into the game? Well, you can't throw Will Vest 140 times. Like, his arm will fall off his body. Like, you know what I mean? You can't, Tommy Canely can't throw 200 innings out of the bullpen. Like, it's not going to happen. It can't happen. So that is something that I think is a weakness for this team at this point. I mean, we've seen, obviously, Brebbia, Kenta Maeda, I mean, you name it, kind of the revolving door of the low leverage relievers have especially when the team is losing, you don't even give yourself a chance to come back later in the game. And look, I'm not trying, like, the bullpen was very far from the only thing that went wrong this weekend, and we'll obviously break all of that down. Now, part of that is certainly the bullpen. Part of it, again, is the awful defense that was played on Sunday. Part of it's the offense. They scored 1 run on Saturday. I don't think they did nearly good enough of a job against 40-year-old Wade Miley on Sunday. It's just, in general, no matter who you want to point the finger at, you cannot afford as a team, as a unit, to completely fall apart every single time you're losing a baseball game. And I don't think they will. But it's just that over the last couple of weeks, that has been a reoccurring theme. So what went wrong? I actually want to start with the offense from this weekend. Parker Meadows staying quiet again, if we're going to point at some individuals. It can be frustrating that he's off to a slow start while also like understand why. Both can be true. Obviously, I would love Parker Meadows to just immediately be hitting like he did in the second half of last season, but this is also, it's going to take him a while to get ramped back up. I'm not worried about it, but that doesn't make it any less frustrating. Colt Keith after Friday, I have like Torkelson after Friday, like everybody after Friday. They put up 11 in game one of this series, and pretty much everybody that went up there did damage at some point in some capacity. So we can kind of just have that stipulation with everybody. But those two, I think, took some rough swings after Friday as well. And then Kerry Carpenter continues to fall, and goes 0 for 2 on Sunday. His OPS is now down to 766. And he kind of, for the first time in his career, just looks a little bit lost. Like he still swings at everything. And then you have an at-bat like I think it was his last at-bat on Sunday, where he's swinging at everything, and then he takes strike 3. And it's like, man, like it's frustrating. He has what, like 2-3 walks on the, like it's June, and I don't think he has double-digit walks on the season. So that is going to be a glaring issue. Pitchers know that they can just kind of throw it anywhere, including at his eyes, and he's going to go hacking every time. And he's got to make an adjustment. And the Tigers have got to help him and figure out how what adjustments need to be made and whatnot, because he is a big part of this offense over the last calendar year that has really been, mostly a non-factor since the 3 home run game, which I'm realizing is kind of wild to say out loud, because obviously he's a huge difference maker and a huge factor into the offense throughout the season. But just the last couple of weeks, he's been pretty quiet. And then Sunday, as a whole, in general, they should have won that game. We should be talking about a series victory. And this is not literally the first, because I'm far too emotional of a human being when it comes to my sports teams in general, but really, the Tigers more than anybody else. But this is one of the first times that first time in a while, at least, where I've been genuinely like, man, that one, like they should have won that ball game. I refrain from saying that too terribly often on this show, because baseball is such a long season. And I think you kind of, you make the bed you lie in. Like, I think that a lot of times people say that, and I'm not really sure it's as, I don't know, justifiable as often as people kind of throw it around. But this is one where I don't even think there's really any other way to describe it. They had 3 counted errors in this ball game, but about 5 to 6 plays that could have been errors and costed them runs. I think they had 5 unearned runs in this ball game. The Reds did. Just awful. Javi with a couple, Zach McKinstry with 1, Gleyber Torres with 1. The pitching, the PFPs, terrible. Like, just look, pitching, I don't even think the pitching was that bad in this ball game. I really don't. But golly, you're asking everybody that takes the bump to get 5 outs in an inning against major league hitters. You're not going to come out on top too terribly often, man. So, yeah, like I really think, I haven't said this too often this year, like I was describing, but like I really think they completely gave that ball game away, and they were still winning late, even despite the multiple errors up to that point. They were winning going into the 8th inning, but that's just too much to overcome against any major league team, no less a team like the Reds that are fighting for a playoff spot. So just really frustrating, really, really poor performance. Let's talk about some pitching that I did think struggled. We'll talk about Jack Flaherty, who got smacked around on Saturday. And we'll talk about what went right and some stuff from over the weekend. We'll do all of that and more right after this. First, though, gotta tell y'all about our new friends over at Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe or something like that. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the number one business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Did you juggle two phones just to keep, your business and personal calls separate for your whole life? Well, Open Phone solved that instantly. Your whole team can also share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. So there's no more, who's handling this or whatever. It's just who picks up is, in fact, handling it. And there's an AI agent that handles after all hours, calls and hours, cowers. After all calls during non-office hours, answers common questions and captures leads, so I never miss a customer. Again, Open Phone is offering Locked On Tigers listeners 20% off of your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnMLB. If you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over for no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow with another off-day episode, as we do throughout really mostly the entire month of June on Mondays. Tuesday show for you all. Let's talk about Jack Flaherty. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 7 earned runs, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts, 3 home runs against. My goodness, what a stat line. His ERA is now 4.03 on the season. Sometimes I sit in front of this camera and I talk about how, something maybe super complex as to why I think a pitcher struggled in any given ball game or something like that. This is so simple. Jack Flaherty had no clue where the baseball was going on Saturday. The stuff was about the same as it always has been. There was no issue with the stuff. There was no issue with the pitches that went anywhere near where he wanted them to go. The issue is, I would argue that may have been under half of the pitches he threw. I'm not kidding. You look at where the catcher was setting up. You look at where just like situationally where you like don't want to throw a baseball and then it ends up there. You just look at these at bats. I'm not kidding. I don't think he hit a spot after like the 3rd inning. Just unbelievably poor command. And that has been something he's been fighting on and off throughout the season. He's gone through really nice stretches where that hasn't been an issue. And then he's gone through obviously some stretches. He had a 3 or 4 start stretch at the end of April, early May, where everybody was kind of giving him a hard time. Again, not like completely, or it kind of was, I guess, understandably so. And really the only thing I have to say is just I hope that this doesn't snowball into, a big thing again. Like I hope this doesn't snowball into, okay, his next 5 outings, he's going to look like that, because that's going to be a problem. But we also have a lot of track record of Jack Flaherty being a really good pitcher. So we'll see how he bounces back next week and how he recovers from this outing. But this was one of his worst outings of the entire season, if not his worst. 7 earned runs in less than 5 innings. I think he's honestly, even to an extent, lucky to get out of it with that stat line. 5 walks, 5 hits, 3 home runs, missing in the zone, missing out of the zone. It didn't matter. Just couldn't hit a spot. So unfortunate outing. That game got away from the Tigers very quickly, and they never got back in it. Let's talk about what went right. Okay. I think in general, like what went wrong, the offense on Saturday. Okay. Well, the whole team kind of struggled offensively on Saturday, but what went right this weekend? There was a couple of players on the offensive side of the ball that I think did a pretty decent job. Riley Greene on Friday and Sunday, I thought took some decent ABs. Javi had a really solid weekend at the plate. Now, we mentioned the defensive woes and the errors on Sunday and whatnot. That's hopefully not a reoccurring theme either. It hasn't been so far this year. My shirt is just soaking wet from aloe. Oh my gosh, I am just an absolute wreck. If I misspeak or am, fumbling over my words, I apologize. I'm trying. I'm trying to recover my I look like a lobster. Jake Rogers with multiple hits offensively as well. That would be so huge. and I'm not holding my breath. I don't think that it's going to happen necessarily. But it would be so massive if Jake Rogers could even just be a 600 OPS hitter. I'm not asking for the world here. You give me a 200, a 210 batting average, a 615 OPS, some walks here and there, the occasional home run, and I'm a happy camper with the defense that he brings. But we're still 100 OPS points away from that. Even after a multiple hit game with an extra base hit on Friday. And then Gleyber Torres was probably the star of the weekend offensively. Had a 2 home run game on Friday. That was the one, if there was a complaint about Gleyber Torres, which I can't fathom that too many Tigers fans have had. He's been so good for them at the top of the lineup. But if there was anything that you could nitpick with Gleyber, it was that he wasn't slugging. He wasn't consistently driving the baseball in the air. He wasn't pulling and lifting the baseball very much. There wasn't a very high home run or really extra base hit total in general. He goes out there Friday, has a 2 home run night. I think he had a double as well on Sunday. In that, he got on base 3 or 4 times on Sunday. My dad just absolutely loves Gleyber Torres because he walks more than he strikes out, and my dad loves players like that have niche things with him. So he had a great old time on Sunday. But I think that when looking at just Gleyber's stat line after the weekend, his slugging percentage went from 380-ish to over 410 over the weekend. It jumped 30 points in a game. Friday alone with the 2 home run performance made it jump about 30 points. So good for him. That can only, if you care about helping your all-star bid, then that certainly does that and will help him in that regard. But it's good to get that going because this is a guy that had a 40 home run season. Yes, it was the juice ball year and it was, 6 years ago or whatever at what point, but he's this guy did that. And it's just been weird to see him now become this contact hitting, soft contact, not going to strike out, going to draw some walks type of guy that isn't going to drive the baseball. Just very different from the Gleyber Torres that, the Yankees knew in his first couple of years in the Bronx. But that's just how baseball works. You got to find your lane. You got to develop. You got to adapt or die, as Brad Pitt said in Moneyball. And Gleyber Torres has carved out a very, very solid role for this baseball team with the approach that he does have, whether it's going to bring a ton of power going forward or not. Winfield Perez had a great game on Sunday, driving the baseball as a right-handed hitter. I know I'm kind of a broken record with it. I'm not going to stop being one, though. This is something that I was legitimately worried about going into the year. You want to talk about Elly De La Cruz has similar concerns, and in no way, shape, or form am I comparing those two players. You want to talk about what went wrong. Elly De La Cruz just completely dominated the Detroit Tigers really all weekend. Couple of home runs, threw out Javi at home, 99 out of his hand or whatever on the relay. This dude was just absolutely all over the place, wreaking havoc on the base paths too. So I'm not comparing those two players, obviously. But that's another guy that is a switch hitter, yet struggles much more and has much worse numbers from the hitting as a righty from the left-handed batter's box, the left batter's box, the right-handed hitter, whatever, man. I'm my brain is absolute soup. So yeah, it was nice to see Winfield Perez drive a baseball from both handedness in that game, hit a home run, hit a double from the left side, all or from his right side. You get what I'm saying? Is great to see. So that's really genuinely something I am always going to celebrate. Pitching, we'll talk about that, and then obviously some stuff right after this. First, though, got to talk to you all about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory, over 200,000 parts from coast to coast, 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast no matter where you live. If you need help with an order as well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You'll always talk to a real person every time, no matter what. And for trade pros that are looking for that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, or electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, everybody, third and final segment here. Locked On Tigers, if I can even get through it. Golly, I'm being so dramatic. I apologize. Pitching. What went right? Friday, really, I guess Friday, you could see the offense. They put up 11 runs. Outside of Brebbia, really everybody that played on Friday was great. Cater Montero was fine. Man, like, I hate how I'm being labeled as like a Cater Montero defender. I think people just compare him to like top end of the rotation guys. He has a 4.24 ERA. When everyone is healthy, he is not a part of the rotation. Do you know how many teams in Major League Baseball would do unthinkable things to have their like seventh option, their sixth option for starting pitcher down in their AAA system that they could call up at any time to have a 4.2 ERA? All of them. All 30 teams want that. He's not a world beater. He's going to give up home runs pretty much every time he goes out there. 5 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts. It's like the most mid outing you could possibly fathom. Yeah. If you're an organizational depth piece in the minor leagues and you get called up and provide mid, that is a win for the organization. All I'm trying to say. Chase Lee all weekend, continue to be impressed by him. He had some command issues on Sunday, but is able to get out of it, which is nice to see. Matt Gage makes his Tigers debut this weekend as well. Kind of got hit around a little bit on Saturday, but looked a little bit better on Friday. What else? I think that's like pretty much it. I mean, like I said, Riley Greene had a couple of hard hit balls over the weekend. Again, like this was that they got completely outclassed on Saturday. They did not get completely, outdueled on Sunday. And certainly they were the far better team on Friday. It's really frustrating when you have the upper hand. You're up 1-0 at home after Friday in a series, and to lose the next 2 the way they did is unbelievably frustrating. Uncompetitive baseball on Saturday. They never had a chance to win that ball game. Got smacked. Okay. And you go, okay, well, you can afford one of those. Go win on Sunday. And they just cannot feel the baseball. Just punting the rock all over the ballpark on Sunday. Just really, really frustrating. And they had another series win against a solid team in their grasp. And, let it slip through their fingers. Stuff from the weekend, Jake Rogers pitching. Everyone always loves position players pitching, and seeing, Jake Rogers just being a fan favorite personality-wise. Always going to give you a chuckle. I mean, I don't think he was bad. He was kind of mixing speeds up a little bit, kind of drop one in there at like 50 and then hit, 70-plus miles an hour at one point. Not bad. Only 1 earned run, I think. So that's his second one I remembered. I don't know how many appearances I guess he's had in his career, but it may only be the 2. But off the top of my head, that's his second pitching appearance, and I think he gave up a few runs. The last one I remember back, 4 or 5 years ago. John Brebbia, designated for assignment, and Tyler Owens recalled. We saw like half a cup of coffee of Tyler Owens earlier in the year. This is a guy that the Tigers added to the 40-man roster over the winter. We talked about him a little bit on the show at points in December over the offseason. I think he has major league offerings. It's just a matter of whether he is going to be able to execute consistently enough to be a major league pitcher. Like I think that's really the biggest question mark with him. But he's got a good heater. Like he has fastballs that grade out really well, if you will. So we'll see if that translates over, and if that is in fact still the case. Injury update. So on Sunday, Will Vest leaves the ball game with a pinky issue. Throws a pass ball, doesn't cover home plate in time, and then calls the trainer out. AJ Hinch said it was a pinky, problem. I know that some people scoff at that and they're like, oh wow, like the Reese Olson ring finger or Will Vest pinky. Like I'm telling you, man, like these guys are gripping the ball so hard for starters, and on top of that, with how they throw certain pitches, the grip, like that's a big deal. If he can't use that finger, that's gonna hurt. And he is he might be in a similar situation as Reese Olson. So I'm recording this a couple hours after the game on Sunday. They're going to do a lot more testing. I have no clue. We'll see what happens. We'll probably get an update either on Monday during the off day or like 2 seconds before first pitch on Tuesday, because the Tigers love to do that as well, kind of not show their cards until the very last minute. So we'll see what happens. But obviously that's a huge blow. Will Vest has been, I think Bleacher Report just ranked him as like the 8th or 9th best relief pitcher in all of baseball up to this point this year. He's got a sub-2 ERA. He's been phenomenal for the Tigers, been the closer. Yeah, it's going to be a huge loss. And for a bullpen that's already slipping and kind of falling back down to earth from what they were at the beginning of the year, that is something they don't really need right now. We'll talk about kind of bullpen worry level and whatnot a little bit more tomorrow on the off day show. Good news on the injury front. Matt Vierling and Reese Olson, both rehab assignments straight to AAA Toledo. That's beautiful. Reese Olson, they're just seeing if the update today, Jason Beck did a great job of kind of covering that situation of MLB.com and, talked about how Reese Olson stamina-wise is perfectly fine and can go as many pitches as they need him to. He can still go, as deep into ball games as he could before. No issue there. It's just a matter of whether his finger can hold up for that amount. The arm is fine, and then the ring finger isn't. So we'll see what happens there. And then in terms of Vierling, we talked about last week. He got a good news on his X-ray and whatnot. There's no structural damage, just some inflammation. So hopefully that dies down and he's back to being good as well. Because I mean, seeing again the production and kind of the revolving door the Tigers have had at third base this year, I think Vierling added to this lineup would go a really long way. This is already a lineup that has been the season stats are solid. And there's a lot of professional hitters, but lately it's certainly been sliding. Vierling, he's not a top end, top half of the lineup fear bat addition. He's not like it's not the biggest deal ever, but if you can have a 740, 750 OPS and just be another professional tough at bat that makes your lineup deeper, makes it longer, and that's always a good thing. So welcomed additions, hopefully. So yeah, frustrating. Final 2 games of the weekend there, frustrating. Probably weekend as a whole for most people, but that's okay. It's all good. They still have I think they're 9 games ahead of Cleveland, 9 games ahead of Minnesota, 11 and a half ahead of the Royals, who are now under 500 and sliding fast. 25 or 20 or whatever it is over the White Sox. Like they still have almost a 10-game lead on second place in the Central. All is good. Hope everyone enjoyed their Father's Day on Sunday. I know I did with the old man, and there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. I have a brick with my name on it. I tweeted this out too if you follow me on social media, but I was 2 years old when Comerica Park opened. Was born in 98, and they were doing a, like you could buy a brick at the new Comerica Park, and Dad got me a brick when I was 2 years old. And actually, you could get a real one like at the place, then you could get a replica, right? So there's the replica of my brick that's been on my desk my entire life. And then I have my actual brick outside of, next to the Tiger at Comerica Park. And so, every single time we've ever gone to a game together my entire life, we go and find the brick after and talk about, for the millionth time how we got it and everything. And it's just a total dad move. He's in his cargo shorts and trying to do the math on how much money the Tigers made in this ball game and doesn't know 80% of the players' names, and there's nothing like it. Nothing like it. Love him to death. Yeah. Nothing will ever beat, a ball game with the old man. So I hope everyone who was able to celebrate with their fathers was able to do so. I hope everyone had a nice, safe, and awesome weekend. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.